Hello guys, the next tool that we are going to be looking at is the gradient tool. The gradient tool on your toolbar is right here. The gradient tool is also used to remove certain parts of our elements just like the brush tool. But with the gradient tool you can do more with it, you can be more precise with it, and you can also use the gradient tool to also create nice background for your designs. So I am going to demonstrate what the gradient tool does. So for example, we have this right here, so I'm just going to press Ctrl plus Z, Ctrl plus Z, Ctrl plus Z to return it back to white. So when you select your gradient tool, you see all these things up on your workspace. You see it on your workspace, and you click right here to bring up this gradient editor. So this is where you can make edits to colors. In gradient usually use two colors. So unlike the brush tool, when we selected one color and then we had to go back to select another color, with the gradient tool you can actually use two colors to create your background. So I'm going to demonstrate that. So when you first open this, and you are on your default Photoshop right here, so the default one is going to be black and white. So if I want to go back to the black and white, I'll open this basics group, and then I'll click on this. It will return it back to black and white. It's because we made changes to the color in the previous video. That's why we are seeing colors right here. But if you have not used the gradient tool before, this is what you will be seeing. So if you want to choose the color, so you can see that we have black right here and we have white right here. So in order to change the black to any color that you want, we'll click on the holder right here, not on top. So we'll click this holder. It will now activate the color, so you can click on it to bring up your color picker tool. So I'm just going to click and drag, and I'll leave it on blues right here. So I'm just going to create a gradient blue background, as you can see. So I'm going to leave this one right here, and then I'll press OK. Then I'll come to the white. I'll select the handle right here, and then I'll click color to bring up my color picker tool, and then I can select any color that you want. So I'm just going to choose a lighter color of this lighter version of the blue. So I'm just going to do that and press OK. Once I'm okay with this, I'll now press OK to exit the gradient editor. So to create your background is very simple. After changing your colors, you can just click and drag to create your background just like this. And this is what we call the linear background. So I'm just going to press Ctrl plus Z. You can do that from all sides of your workspace. So if you want the blues to appear on your left, and then the lighter version of that color to appear on your right, you are just going to click from left to right. If you want it the other way around, you can click and drag from the opposite side just like this. If you want to change the color again, you can click back to bring back the gradient editor. I will select this, press color. You click on color to bring up your color picker tool. So I'm just going to maybe choose this color right here, and then I'll press OK again. So in this case, if I want the yellows to be on my right side and I want the blues to be on my left side, I am going to click and drag from the right side, from the left side rather. So for example, like this, if I click and drag like this, you see that the blues are now on my left side and the yellows are on my right side. So I'm just going to click and drag. You can see, so I think there's a mistake, so I'm just going to press Ctrl plus Z, Ctrl plus Z to return it, and then I'll click right here, and you can equally change the color to any color that you want. So this is basically what the gradient tool does. It helps you create really cool backgrounds with your on your designs just like that. So I'm going to select this. I'm going to deselect this one too. Then I'll click and drag. This is how the gradient tool works in Photoshop. I mentioned that this is what we call the linear gradient, which is it moves in a straight line. So in a straight line means you have the darker blues right here, and it moves in straight and then merges with the lighter version of that same color. If for example I want to change it from linear to radial, which is you have it in a circular form, so I'll come up here. This is the linear. I'll click on the radial and click and drag. So I'm just going to press Ctrl plus Z, Ctrl plus to go back to the white. Then I'll demonstrate how the radial gradient works. So I'm just going to click and drag from the middle like this. It is not visible enough because our colors are different. So if you want to change the colors, I'm just going to press Ctrl plus Z, and then I'll go back to my gradient editor, and I'll try to change the color to a different color so that you guys can see it very well. So I'm going to press OK right here. So I'm just going to click and drag from the middle. You can see that the blues are in the middle, and then my yellows are hanging around the corners right here. If I want to invert that, I'll press Ctrl plus Z to go back, and then I'll click on the gradient editor again. So anything that you are doing, it has to do with the gradient editor. You go into the gradient editor, you change your colors, you come back, and then you create your gradient background again. So if I want to switch this, I'll just click here and then try to change the color to yellow, and then I'll click on this right here, change the color to blue, just like that. So if I now click and drag, we'll now have the yellow in the middle right here. There are other ways of creating really nice background with the gradient tool, and you guys can practice through this. But what I normally use is the linear gradient tool, which is very easy for me to create really nice background, just like this. So I have my background. If I want to create any background that I want, I can use the gradient. You can note that you can also use more than two colors. So I said you can use more than one color for the gradient, so you can actually use up to any color that you want. So you can just play through it, go into the gradient editor, try to tweak it around, and just be creative with it. As a designer, you have to be creative with certain things. And it's about practice. If you don't know how the gradient tool works, there is no way you can be able to tweak it in order to bring out the best in that tool. So yeah, this is basically what the gradient tool does. There are other ways of creating backgrounds, but I am just showing you a simple way to create it. We are going to use a different method to create a background when we are doing the advanced flyers that we'll be doing in this course. So yeah, I hope you guys understand, and I urge you guys to practice with all these tools that we are learning. And in order to understand it, you have to practice. I urge you guys to do that, and I'll see you in the next lesson.